my number 5 is the current champs that have just won Cologne G2. These guys could be number 1. They're so good, but they're just too inconsistent for me. I explained before, I feel they're inconsistent because m0NESY and NiKo, at least one of them has to be playing their A game, and they need another player, whether that's Hunter or JKS or someone else, needs to be playing well as well. So, like I said, if NiKo and m0NESY are on form, then yeah, great. You know, they're going to beat pretty much anyone. You can't just rely on 2 guys playing their A game every time. Huxley, on his day, can make some great calls. He's too inconsistent for me as well. So that's why they're at number 5 and they're not higher up. But I do think they have potential to climb up the rankings, and if they get a little bit more consistent, m0NESY is only 18. You know, when he gets a bit older, they could climb the ranks easily, so they could come higher.
Okay, my number 5, Astralis.
What?
Yes.
I wanted to put them in my top 5 so bad, and I have no idea what your top 5 is.
Oh,
so
you've not even got them in there. Oh my god. Okay, so number 5, Astralis. They got to the semis of Cologne recently, the recency bias there, and they looked very exciting. Didn't have a great major, but they've won some other stuff this year. They won a few of the CCT Europe stuff, if you look around, and actually beat some quite good teams in that. And they came second at the biggest tournament of the year, the Brazy Party, and they had a really good run there. But it is more based on the recency bias and how good they looked recently, and thought they did quite well to get to the semis. So yeah, I think if you look at the top 5, I'm not sure who you've got above them.
I've got so much push. That's you're talking about these old tournaments, but that was a different roster. Like,
yeah, all right. Then if you're talking about the new roster, then they're definitely top 5 because they just had a mad run at Cologne.
Okay. Number 4, and this kind of going against what I just dissed you for. My number 4 is Cloud9. I mean, yeah, I've not got much to go off, but they've got to be the highest rated players on a team possibly ever. Like, they're ridiculous.
But we haven't even seen this new roster do anything.
Exactly, yeah. So I get that, but I think seeing them in their first game together on a big stage against Vitality, then to take them to overtime, I think is ridiculous. Probably the highest rated in-game leader as well. Arguably one of the best AWPers and one of the best riflers in the world on one team. Yeah, they're my number 4.
Fine. My number 4 is ENCE. Second at Cologne. They won Dallas. They actually had a really shit major run. So a bit of history for the last 3 months for you.
Okay, so you agree with HLTV on that one. They also have them 4. So
yes, I agree with
fair.
That is right.
Okay, my number 3. You just mentioned them. ENCE. My number 3.
I think that's fair. Like they could go either.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll be honest. I did have them at second, and I changed it just as we started this podcast. So I had them higher up.
I changed my first and second.
These guys, if they carry on, and some other teams, I won't mention who, underperform like they just have, then these guys could go higher up on my list. But it also depends on Cloud9 as well, because Cloud9 could keep improving. So could other teams, obviously. But yeah, I like the way they play. They're aggressive. Snappy's a sick in-game leader. Nertz needs to be a little bit more consistent, but he's really sick as well. I think they could make some little subtle changes if the right player becomes available. But yeah, right now as it stands, they are my number 3, and fair play to them. I think they've done really well to get that high up.
My number 3 is Heroic.
What? Number 3?
Yep. Because you said it. You've already actually put my argument across why they are number 3. You said it yourselves. Would you be happy? You asked me if I'd be happy if I owned them if they kept coming seconds and thirds. Right? They are the nearly team. They are. They can't be 1 and 2 because they don't fucking win anything. They came quarters at the Cologne. They won Blast Washington, which was after the major, which no one cared about. Semis of Dallas, second at Rio, second at Katowice as well. They're just a nearly team. They're just like...
Yeah,
but the only thing they've won is actually the thing after the major, when everyone was like, this is all a bit boring.
Like I said, you've got to give credit to that consistency, though, because...
Yeah, they're consistently third. I agree. Put them in third place. Well done.
Okay, fair.
Consistently third.
Yeah, my number 2 is Heroic.
Okay. Okay. Well,
HL
it's not that
H-
dramatic then that I've got them in
Yeah,
third.
well, I'll be honest. I changed them from 3 to 2. I had Ents 2 and Heroic 3, and I just changed it at the start of the podcast just because Heroic are always in the mix. They're one of my favourite teams. They overperform time and time and time again. They beat some of the best teams in Counter Strike. There's so many other teams with so much more firepower, but these guys always beat them and always get near the top. Yeah, they don't win everything, but Cadian makes some sick calls, and they do it with very little, and I think you've got to give credit to that.
So my number 2 and number 1 I switched quickly before, but now that we've been having this discussion, might be wrong, and I feel that these can be interchangeable. My number 2 is G2. So they won 2 of the biggest tournaments this year, Cologne and Katowice. So they didn't have a great major run, but they've won 2 of those. Like, those are really big feats that, like, only Fnatic and FaZe have done it in a single year. So they just, they're number 2. They also got to the semis of Washington as well, just after the major, in more recent times. And because G2 haven't changed their roster, you probably can use their historic stuff more than ever. And that means they are fucking way better than Cloud9, Ents and Heroic.
So yeah, number 1, Vitality.
Number 1, Vitality.
I don't even need to explain why. They're just sick. They've got so much firepower now. I don't know how HLTV have them number 2 still.
No.
But they're literally their 4th best player is one of the most decorated players in the game at the minute. Magist. He can comfortably win rounds for.
Yeah, he can. He still does it without any issues.
He's such a good rifler, and he's their 3rd or 4th best rifler. Like, they're ridiculous.
And they've had a good. If you look at they won obviously the last major. That's the big thing. The semis at Cologne here. I think they came 2nd at that Washington thing. What have I got here? They won Rio earlier in the year. Quarters of Katowice. They actually had good runs and everything as well. Like, they. Why are they not first? HLTV, you need their heads checking.
They're literally steamrolling teams as well. Like, when they win, they fucking win.
I think there's just a perception that because they're not winning like every single thing, but no one is. That's the point. But
they've got a points-based system, haven't they? Though, and the Heroic's consistency, I think, might outweigh other things.
Yeah, and I think Heroic feels like they play more games, but again, I could be making that up. So anyway, to very, very quickly check.
But I do think that, you know, at the end of the year, this top 5 could look quite different. I'm worried for Heroic. I'm quite positive for Ents and Cloud9. I think they're going to do well.
So just so we're clear, we've both got Vitality number 1, and then Burley's top 5 is 2 is Heroic, 3 is Ents, 4 is Cloud9, 5 is G2.
Yeah.
And I've got Vitality 1, G2 2nd, Heroic 3rd, Ents 4th, and Astralis 5th.